So I'll let her call in and press 1, and I'll let her in. But I want to address this idea that if you look at it, I am being attacked relentlessly. My daughter, my daughter's mom, look at the shit I'm getting just for being a guy that's telling the truth about black women. And black women aren't standing up telling these black dudes, well, wait a minute, you can take up for us, but attacking this man's mom and his kid and saying you want him to go broke, that doesn't make any sense. Hey there, Dr. Maat.
Hey there, Tommy Sotomayor. How are you, King?
I'm doing well, dear. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I was trying to get in on your last show, and I really enjoyed the topic. I think that it is a much needed discussion. I was listening to the perspective of your callers. You had Matt, and then you had another young lady, and then you had another guy on the show.
The young lady broke my heart. The young lady broke my heart.
Yes, she had me in tears. She had me in tears, but she was sharing a lot of, intimate details about her life, and she was saying how, you influenced her to change her way of thinking. And, that's very, very powerful, Tommy, to change one's mentality. You know what I mean? So that was very, very powerful, and I'm glad that she called in to give, your listeners her testimony. So I really, really appreciate her calling in and, and sharing her experience with listening to your shows. I actually concur, with what the sister was talking about in regards to you bringing, a different perspective on black issues. I do remember a while ago when I got the show with Brother Sinetta and Brother Uncle Cat, when they brought me on, they did think that I was going to come on the show. I remember when I listened back to the show maybe a few, weeks ago, Unc said, oh, my goodness, if she finds out who Tommy Sotomayor is, she's going to curse him out.
Yep.
And then once I found out who you were, I said, oh, no. I listened to that brother, and I actually agree with about 90% of the stuff, that he says. And they were all kind of shocked.
Yep, because you were brought on to be the black woman that was going to get me told. You know that, right?
Yes, I was. Yes. I remember. I remember.
And I didn't even know, but once they did it, I was like, okay, I'm being ambushed. But it didn't matter because I felt like I speak the truth. So I don't care who you are. Like, I don't need notes. You see, I don't bring notes into when I'm talking to these people. They get to call me out of the blue. I never set this up. It's the same thing I was going to do with the debate in New York. I wasn't going to have any notes because I believe if I'm speaking the truth, I don't need notes. I don't need notes if I believe in what I'm saying, and I shouldn't have a problem saying it in front of any audience. And I think that's what's scary, that a lot of people are feeding you BS. That's why they need notes. That's why they need cheerleaders. That's why they need a structured environment for their word. My words fit in any environment, doesn't matter where I am. Now, as a woman, because you and I are going to talk tomorrow, and we're going to set up time because I think it's going to be powerful. But with you, what were you thinking about, like, after hearing the stories? Does any of this stuff relate to you? And maybe we don't want to give away too much from tomorrow, but just give them an idea of what they can expect. Because you're the topic person. You're the person who's bringing the topic and bringing some people. So what is it that you'd like to bring to them?
So what we're going to talk about is the destruction of the black family. I know that you speak a lot about black women and how black women has contributed to the destruction of the black family. And I remember on a previous show that you and I were on, I actually agreed with, a lot of what you said. And I was saying, I understand that women, that we are, the foundation, the backbone of families. And, with women, I consider women akin to soil, right? So if you spoil the soil, then you spoil the seeds. And so tomorrow I was going to bring on a panel of black women, and this is going to be a friendly conversation, Tommy. This is not going to be, we're coming on the show to debate Tommy on that, but just simply coming on the show to exchange information and ideas and the perspective on that topic. So,
but if it gets heated, it gets heated because. But if it gets heated, it gets heated because I know you're a passionate person like me, and you really want better for your person, for your people. So if there's something I'm saying, because I want my ideas, I said it earlier. I want my ideas to be pushed because I want to grow and evolve. I don't care if people say, well, you weren't saying that last year. Well, last year I was an idiot is what I found out this year.
Right. But it's a way of disagreeing. You know, how
Yes.
sometimes people come on shows, and I'm with you. I think that it's okay. We can disagree, but it's how you disagree.
Yes.
And so what I'm saying is, tomorrow when we get on this show and we talk about male female relationships and the destruction of the black family, or the current condition of the black family, it's not going to be black women on the show going at Tommy or disrespecting Tommy or vice versa. We disagree. We can disagree respectfully.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm looking forward to the discussion tomorrow. And I'm bringing on some sisters. Some of them they agree with your perspective. Some of them don't, and they'll be able to express that. A lot of women do think that when you talk about black women, they believe that you're spewing hatred instead of truth.
Mm-hmm.
So they take your criticism as negativity. Instead of them taking it as you being constructive, they take it as you're disrespecting black women, or you're spewing hatred towards black women. I don't see it as such. For example, when you were talking about the incidents that just occurred recently with the two black women who murdered their children, and then you made the comment that that child abuse is something prevalent in the black community. I went and I looked it up, and initially, I'm not going to lie, Tommy, I was quite offended. I said, what does Tommy mean, that child abuse is prevalent in the black community? Let me look at some statistics. And so I Googled some statistics and found out that African-American women were among the highest cases, the highest number of cases of child abuse. So that was kind of eye-opening to me.
Yeah,
and
I don't say, and the funny thing is, I don't just say it to be saying it, but I do say it in a way that does what I want to offend your sensibilities. Because here's the thing: had I not offended your sensibilities, you may have not looked that up. You may have not wanted to see it for yourself.
Facts. And I did. I was offended when you said, that's something, prevalent in the black community. And I said, wait a minute. Let me see what Tommy's talking about. And I looked it up, and it was true that, African American women are among the highest number of cases of child abuse. And then I listened to your caller, Matt. He called in and he said he was a social worker and he's seen that sort of stuff. Now, I believe, I kind of agreed with his perspective, but there were a few things that I didn't agree with. One, Matt said that the abuse in black culture, he said, is opposite of Western or white culture. So when he said that, I'm thinking, okay, so the implication is that blacks are more punitive than whites. And then I was thinking to myself, Tommy, I said, well, does he understand the history of Europe? When we could talk about the history of Europe, particularly the Dark Ages, there was a period in European history and culture where women weren't venerated, where women weren't respected, where, you had nomadic tribes that had no economic value of women. There was a time in Europe where they burned, raped, and murdered their own children, ate their own children. And so, I'm not, on the show to bash white folks or bash Europeans. But when he made that comment, that he was to me trying to imply that behavior was foreign, and I don't know.
Well, do you see how I called him? You can go back and listen. I said, no, white people will fuck up their kids too. I said the difference is
okay.
They have, because I said white people fuck up their kids like black people fuck up their kids. Here's the difference. There's a culture of, if you see it, there's always a nosy motherfucker that's going to tell. In our community, there's rarely somebody that tells you what you're doing with your children is wrong, because we're taught if you're a parent, if you're a mother, you can do whatever the fuck you want to do to your kids. And that sucks. That's one of the things that's destroying us, because remember, a white mother can call out another white mother. A white teacher can call out another white teacher. Hell, how do you think slavery ended? A white person was calling out another white person. Yes, there were white people who were evil, but there were other white people who said it's not right, even though we benefit. We as black people have to do the same thing. Do you think that's a fair statement?
Absolutely. I mean, we got to hold our own accountable. And I think that's what you do when you're on your shows and you talk about black issues. It's just really about accountability. And I think that we've been, we were brought up in a culture, in particularly black culture, where, if you talk to authorities or if you appeal to authorities, you're a snitch, you're a rat. So it's kind of like, people don't want to get involved. anymore. So they know things are going on in the household, and they don't want to get involved, for fear of retaliation of, people in the neighborhood and things of that nature. So it is that sort of climate in the community. You talk to authorities, you're a snitch, you're a rat, and things of that nature. But I just wanted to say, Tommy, that those females that committed those atrocious acts towards their children, they were poor representation of black women. Those were women that had clearly mental and emotional issues, and so I want to make that clear that they were poor representations of black women. All black women aren't out there abusing their children. And I remember you said earlier that you didn't think that black women were empathetic. I think that a lot of black women are empathetic. I mean, in my environment, I'm not sure, Tommy, where you grew up or how you grew up, but I grew up around a lot of empathetic black women. So when you made the statement earlier today, I couldn't relate to that. So I wanted you to expound on that if you could.
Oh, no
when you
problem.
said that you don't feel like black women are empathetic.
I said, and that's what I tried to say when I said it. I said, from my understanding, and that's why I was asking other people what are their thoughts. You ever notice when I make these what may be far-reaching statements, I ask the audience what have been their understanding, and that's why I like that you said, well, yours wasn't like that. I hit too many people, and let me ask you this. Do you think that's a problem, that I can say things that offend your sensibilities, and then you'll look in the comment section and see black men and black women say, the same thing happened in my life, same thing happened in my life, that happened. Like when you hear that young girl call earlier, doesn't it make you feel a little bit weird that so many black people have related to me saying about the bad things that black women are doing, and they all repeat the same story that, yeah, it happened to me? And so that's where I was speaking from when I said it. A lot of black women, in my opinion, have not been empathetic. And even when I became who I became in the entertainment / social media world, I still keep seeing black women not be very empathetic in large part. Like it's the weirdest thing. There was a black woman, and the black woman just came to my house, and she got up and just cooked and cleaned. I mean, not cooked and cleaned, but she just cleaned up. She was only there for like 2 hours. Do you know that the majority of black women who come to my house have just sat and looked? I had a black girl watch me work, and I shit you not, for 6 hours straight. She sat in a chair beside me and just watched me work in my house. I did it on purpose to see if she'd move. She didn't move. I watched them, and then I watched, like, to me, the empathy part comes in is to be able to put yourself in someone else's shoes. If I watch someone work for 6 hours, I would think maybe they need some water, maybe a sandwich. If I'm in their house,
so maybe some help,
right,
right,
something.
Help.
But if you notice, a lot of black women don't have that capacity to ask, can they help? I've watched black women walk into other women's house that were throwing a party and didn't go in the kitchen with that woman and say, hey, you need any help? They will sit down and be served. That's a part of empathy. To put yourself in that person's shoes, to know that person needs help, to know that person needs an ear or a shoulder. And I think if it filters its way down to how they raise their kids. Have you noticed that the majority of black women try to get their kids to understand them more than they try to understand their kids? The job of a black child is to understand your black mom. So if your black mom had a hard day at work, you must understand that she's tired. If your black man a black woman, a mom doesn't want to cook, you must understand that she doesn't want to cook. And as a kid, you got to figure your way out through that kitchen. It's a bad deal. And so when I say empathy, it starts off on low levels to the point of where when these black children, like the young woman who called, when they go back to their moms and say, you hurt me when I was a kid, they still won't listen. They will tell you, well, it was hard on me. You understand? I had to raise you 5 kids by myself. Again, no empathy. They want you to understand them, but they don't want to understand you. So I think this is very prevalent amongst black women. Even like you, black women like you can look back and say, you know what? I have seen a lot of black women who seem like they cannot relate to me, but they want me to relate to them.
True.
Empathy.
Very true. And I mean, Tommy, when I hear stories like this, it makes me more appreciative of my mother. my mother, if you go to my page one day and check out, I have a video of my mom on my page. She retired as a Baltimore City public school principal.
Nice.
She worked in the system for 35 years. And my mother was extremely empathetic. I mean, there were like parents who would send their children to school dirty with no uniform. Sometimes the uniforms were dirty. Sometimes the children weren't fed. Sometimes the children didn't have money. And so I remember as a little girl, my mom going to different stores and buying uniforms. Sometimes she would buy rags and towels. And I'm like, Mom, what are you doing with this stuff? She's like, I got to take it into the city. And I'm like, Mom, for what? She said, for my babies. And I mean, she would take uniforms, soap, towels, washcloths, and take them to school and allow the children who were sent to school dirty to wash up in the bathrooms.